my name is Maggie. I am an actor and an arts marketer, and I live in Calgary, Alberta, and I love seeing theater. I see a lot of theater, and I don't have a lot of money, so I know a little bit about how to see theater for fairly cheap. And today I'm gonna go through all of the best ways to get discounts on theater and go from most expensive to least expensive. So stick around to hear all of your options and the pros and cons of each of them and why you might want to consider these as ways to see theater for cheaper. So the first way to see a bunch of shows at a discounted rate is to subscribe. Basically, you pay a certain amount to see 2 or 3 or 4, depending on the theater company and how their subscription system is set up. So you pay a discounted rate to see multiple shows. If you like a particular theater and you see their season and you see that they have a bunch of shows that you would like to see, subscribing can be a great way to see a bunch of shows for a discounted rate. It also sometimes provides you access to other discounts, like you can bring friends for cheaper or things like that. And it's also great if you like to plan ahead and you want to know that you have tickets for a show. It's not going to sell out on you, especially if it's like super popular or something like that. So subscribing is great. It's also awesome for theaters. It really helps them. Now, this isn't a great option if you need super cheap tickets. It's only a slight discount. It's also not perfect if you maybe are only interested in like 1 or 2 of the shows in a theater season, if they have like 5 or 6 shows in their season. So it's not the perfect option for everyone, but if you can afford it and you're interested in the company and you like the work that they do, it's a great way to see theater and support theater. Okay, this next one is a personal favorite of mine. It's also one that is hard to guarantee. So that is keeping an eye out for those deals. The best way I found to do this is to subscribe to theater companies' email lists, follow them on social media, and be obsessive. That's what I found works. Just be obsessed with every theater company that's ever existed. The way to get access to deals is literally just to stalk theater companies, as far as I can tell. Be uber connected to them, follow them on all social media platforms, and make sure you're subscribing to their newsletter. That's the tip. This one is tricky because they're not guaranteed to do deals, but sometimes they do, you can get good ones. So you win some, you lose some. This next one is like kind of controversial. Not controversial. I think it's controversial. For some theater companies, especially indie companies, you will get a discount if you go to preview, which is the night before or like a few nights before opening night. Basically the show is rehearsed, but previews are an opportunity to rehearse in front of an audience and still give notes and still make changes and still adjust the show if needed. Typically 90% of the time you're getting basically the same show. It's still going to be just as good of quality. If things are terrible at a preview, they're probably not going to be that much better by opening. But I mean, there's always the risk, particularly in a preview, of something going wrong, especially technically, and maybe something stops. But honestly, those are like prime time theater moments. You get to like tell your friends about the crazy thing that happened at the show you just saw. So in my books, that's excellent. But the problem is some theater companies don't do a discount for previews, which I think is not great. I don't like that. I think that you are still going to what is essentially like an incomplete piece of art, and I don't like when theater companies charge full price for that, but some of them do, so sometimes you're not even getting a discount, so make sure you check. Because if you're not getting a discount, just go when the show is open. That's my hot take of the day. So this next option is spectacular if you are a student, which is just to get student deals. Sometimes theater companies have a specific student night, sometimes there's always a student price. So you just need to make sure you bring your student ID in case they ask you about it. Half the time they don't even ask you about it, so there's that as well. So now we're starting to get into the good deals, the cheaper prices, if you will. And the first option for that is a pay what you can show. So some theater companies will do their whole run as pay what you can, pay what you will, pay what you want. Some of them will have specific shows that are pay what you can. This is, again, a great time to pay what you feel comfortable paying. Sometimes theater companies will have sort of guidelines of like, if you make this kind of money, we expect you to pay this much. If you're in these kind of situations, please don't pay this much. Like, sometimes there are kind of like guidelines to go by, and the great thing about pay what you can is that if you can afford to pay more, it's really awesome if you can pay more. It's greatly appreciated. Up next, we have lotteries. These are particularly good for like Broadway or like Broadway across Canada. So not every show has one, but sometimes you can check online, you can enter, and then if you get chosen for the lottery, you get like typically like 2 discounted tickets. Sometimes they're significantly discounted, like for example Hamilton does ham for ham, so the lottery is $10 if you get it, which $10 tickets to Hamilton, that's pretty good. Particularly if you're in New York, it can be a great option. So this next one is specifically for artists, and that is artist prices, or some theaters do equity prices for their tickets. So if you're a member of Actors Equity, or like a director or a stage manager who's a member of Equity, you can get discounted tickets. And then sometimes other theaters will just do like artist pricing or like artist nights, and sometimes they require like a recent program from a show you were in, something like that, as sort of like proof that you're an artist. Not every theater does this, but those that do, we love you, thank you. Okay, rush tickets. Rush tickets are super fun, they're one of my favorites. This is basically when you just like show up at a show like 10 minutes before it's about to start, and if there is still seats available, sometimes you can get those at discounted prices. Not every theater does this. This is typically like something, well, okay, so if you're doing this in New York, you're not showing up 10 minutes before the show, you are like queuing before the show. You're getting in line, crossing your fingers that there's still some tickets available that you can purchase, or that like someone cancels their tickets or something, I don't know. But typically if you're, I don't know, at a small Canadian theater, if they have space, sometimes they will let you come in for cheaper, which is awesome. Next up, we have complimentary tickets. This is great if you're an artist and you have friends who are also artists who maybe are working on the show or maybe work at the theater company, and they just happen to have a complimentary ticket that they get as an employee of the piece, and you get to see the show for free. Yay! Wonderful. Always feel free to check. Sometimes people just like don't use their comps. Honestly, like if I am in a show and I'm not using my comps, I would rather they go to someone than not, you know? So, complimentary tickets. Don't sleep on them. And now, our final option, our cheapest option, is volunteer as an usher for a theater company. So you usher the show, you help people get to their seats, you take their tickets, you scan their tickets, maybe you do coat check, and you volunteer for the show, and then you get to go into the theater and watch the show, and you still have some responsibilities as you're watching the show. If there is an emergency, you're responsible for helping people get out of the theater and to like a muster point. Usually 99% of the time it's very, very chill. You show up, you help people to their seats, maybe you sell some raffle tickets, and then you get to watch the show for free. And that is awesome. Some theaters, this is like a paid position, and in that case, like when I've had paid ushering jobs, I like would get to watch like part of the show, but not always all of it. So that can be kind of annoying and inconvenient. But if a theater has volunteer ushers, that is the best way to see a show for completely free. If you have another way of seeing theater for cheap and or free, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you're interested in other videos like this about theater and other things that I'm interested in. Okay, thanks, bye-bye. Oh, and subscribe, please. Please.